First play is called Question of Sex, and it's the longer of the 3 plays. And after which we're going to have a short interval. At that time you can go and have another drink. There are toilets down the corridor on the left-hand side, or if you need to go outside for a smoke. Break will only be about 10 or 15 minutes, so come back to us after that, please. Then our second play is called Forbidden Fruit. So there'll be a short pause after it for us to just change the set. Please stay in your seat for that. And then we'll have the final play of the evening, which is called The Proposal. So I hope you made it up.
What about my play? Where's my play? You haven't mentioned it.
We're not doing your play, Brian. I told you before, lots of times.
I'm not doing it. Why? It's a perfectly good play.
It is not a perfectly good play. Now, you get off the stage when we get started.
Well, I've spent so much time writing it, and I think the people want to see it. It's an important story of our time. Oh, and it has a catchy title.
A catchy title? Solving negative equity with guns? Hey, no, I think it's alright. Anyway, as I said, we're not doing it, there isn't time, and it's just not suitable.
Not suitable? How not suitable? Mossy's put a lot of work into this too, you know. We'd be devastated. We've been rehearsing all day. Like, Mossy, get out here!
Rehearsing? Is that what you were at?
Mossy!
Oh, God.
What's going on? Shouldn't the plays have started? The people are waiting.
Yeah, I know they are. See, I was trying to tell Brian here what we're doing.
They've cancelled our play. We're not going on.
What? Why?
I told Brian ages ago, we're not doing that play.
Right.
It's not on, man.
I've been rehearsing all day, all week, man. I put this stuff on and everything. Brian said it was good. He said everyone thought it was the best play we had.
Well, I said I thought it was probably the best play we ever had. Look, Eamon, we did one of my plays before, remember? What's wrong with this one?
Brian, it's just not. It's not. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for this today.
Hey, well, what's wrong with it?
What's wrong with it? Well, it's practically racist for a start.
Racist?
Yes, racist. EU officials dress like that. French made. I said, we're not doing a play that has pole dancers in national costume.
Well, I don't see why not. Anyway, they're not Irish pole dancers, they're Polish.
Brian, it's terrible. We told you. I know everyone's telling you for ages.
Gobshite, I knew I shouldn't have gone on with your stupid play. We run around like Rambo, the big hero, the big machine gun, save the nation, and make it throw up.
I thought you liked the play, Mossy.
I don't know why I went to Malmert. Eamon's right. It's racist, self-indulgent tripe. Oh, and I recently noticed it's right for product placement.
Product placement? What are you talking about?
I'll give you an example, shall I? Look, here's the script. At the start, say, haha, thirsty work with a ruthless dictator. I think I'll have a refreshing can of Sprunt. And then in your victory speech at the end, you say, now that the people have decided they've been freed of tyranny, they're free to own their own homes and go to Sofa World on the Nace Road. And it's a happy life setup, like the sofas to the end of the month.
That's not product placement, Mossy. That's it's artistic license.
What I'd like to know is, where's all the advertising money going?
Well, I've never been so publicly insulted in all my life.
Lads, we need to get on here.
It's absurd. I've never seen so many violent deaths in a play. It's like a bloodbath.
Well, what about all those Jane Austen plays? They look at choose to be violent they were. Not to mention pornographic.
You're getting mixed up with some dodgy videos.
Look, Eamon, just let us go on, will you? Please, come on.
No, Brian.
Well, what can we do now then?
I'll tell you what we do. We're going to get off and people enjoy the show. Come on.
Such talent in some directions. Let's wake him now. I should think he's had enough. Enough? Well, it's turned 7, and he must have dropped off just after lunch. 5 hours.
He hasn't slept well the last few months. He's been so frightfully anxious.
Anxious? And what about his poor wife? What about Ada's anxiety? How he could sleep like this when he knew perfectly well. Oh, to do it, dear. The privileges of a sister-in-law vary in different families.
What did you say? I do believe I dropped off there for a minute or two. Dash, what a thirst I've got on today.
There.
What are you two staring at? How's Ada? Has the doctor come yet?
George, it's a girl.
What's a girl? Who's a girl?
It's a girl.
Well, I'm damned if this is the quickest thing of the sort that I've ever heard of.
George! Come back. You mustn't go to her. She's asleep.
Well, I am damned. It can't be a quarter of an hour since I left her.
George, go. Does it not occur to you that these terrible oaths are sadly out of place? Recollect that as a father you were considerably less than a day old. Blasphemy from lips so young as an instance of infant depravity, such as even I, a district visitor, have seldom seen surpassed. Now, our curate at Healing has composed a special form of prayer for young parents, and I brought it over with me, and I shall be asking you to make it your own. In the meantime, I beg you not to disgrace the sacred name of father. Think of poor dear Ada. Oh, my darling sister has behaved so splendidly today. Think of what she has been
That is just what I am thinking of. But the more I think, the more I...
Why, George, you silly. You've been asleep 5 hours.
I swear I haven't.
No more swearing, I entreat. You have been asleep 5 hours. It's turned 7 o'clock. Your daughter is some 3 hours old.
Yes, and everything went on beautifully. Ada cried a bit.
Ada was simply superb.
Yes, she was, dear. The baby's the loveliest little thing.
The doctor says he's never saw a finer.
Yes, the nurse says so too. And she's got lots of hair.
I cry. She's got lungs like that.
Why don't you come and wake me up? Answer me. Now, I might have been doing the most disgusting things to the sacred name of father in those 3 hours. And quite innocently, Helen knew at least.
Why did you ask me to go down and sit with you?
Oh, dear. I couldn't have dreamt of leaving Ada.
And why not, dear? I came over specially from Ealing, and I left my own 2 little ones and Ernest in order to see after Ada myself.
And I came from Harrow, which is much further than Ealing. I haven't any little ones, but if I had, I should have left them. I'm sure I should. I left Jack and the 2 kittens, and there was nothing left to leave.
But it's a question of experience, dear.
I don't know, dear. It seems to me that common sense and a cool head are better than experience.
Surely, dear, you don't suggest. Oh, we didn't.
Gracious heavens, do you think nurse will remember?
Probably not. I've had 3 different nurses myself, and they're all alike. I'll just run up and see to it.
Oh, no, I'll go, dear.
Oh, no, I'll go, dear. We're with safety principle.
I know, I'll go.
No, I go.
If it's anything serious, hadn't you better both go? Further delay might be fatal, and I should like to avoid being cut off in my infancy as a father.
No, sugar, not at all. I should prefer Helen to go. She is so experienced.
The girl.
George, what's the matter? I thought all the time you didn't receive our news with that ecstatic abandonment of joy, which I believe is usual under the circumstances. Why aren't you glad and proud? Why don't you weep happy tears of relief and contentment? Is it possible you are so lost to all parental feeling as to be indifferent when your wife presents you with a dear little darling baby?
May, you're a very decent sort. But if you say 2 more words in that strain, I shall go upstairs and wring that child's neck. I could not allow any child of mine to be niece to a woman who spoke like that. Remember, as a father, I have duties, responsibilities.
You're not well. I see. You're suffering. Of course, it must have been a great strain on the system to wake up and find yourself a father. Oh,
noticed the dark rings under my eyes, the unnatural brightness of my orbs, the hectic flush in my cheeks, the bald spot on the top of my head? Stream! My dear sister, I have a secret and terrible woe. A woe which, with courage worthy of a gentleman and a parent, I have shared with none. Nay, I am undone.
Who has undone you?
My beloved wife. 3 hours since, as I slept. Listen, I have feared it. I have feared it for many weeks. 5 or 6 months ago, Uncle Francis said, if it was a son, he would settle £10,000 upon it.
And if a daughter?
He coldly declined to consider the possibility of such a thing. What special brand of ass he is sometimes. I said nothing to anybody, not even to my wife, for I felt it would worry her. And imagine my condition of mind, my agonizing suspense. Do you wonder that I should lie wakeful night after night? Do you wonder that pure weariness and fatigue I should fall asleep on this very afternoon of my undoing? Oh, Helen, to be a father is not so superficial or pleasing as the superficial observer might fancy.
It certainly isn't. Especially if you happen to be occupied with being nephew to Uncle Francis at the same time.
Uncle Francis, Uncle Donkey, Uncle Nincompoop, Uncle Boogie, Uncle Batcher, pompous old Batcher. Upon my soul, to see the way Batchers behave themselves these days makes me sick.
Don't forget you were a bachelor yourself less than a year ago.
Only in practice, not in theory. Not in theory. I maintain all bachelors are idiots. Look at Uncle Francis. Here's a nice sample. You see, I feel that he knew it would be a girl all along. But even so, why wouldn't he have kept his precious little plan of benevolence to himself until I was actually a father? And then, unless the sex of my child happened to please his fastidious taste, I should have been spared all of this anxiety, and I should have been no worse off.
Well, it's a great pity, of course. I suppose he won't withdraw the condition.
Not he.
After all, you are no worse off. Uncle hasn't robbed you of anything.
Oh, like that? You aren't a father. Nay, you can't enter into a father's feelings. The way I see it is that he has robbed me. He's robbed me of precisely £10,000. Here am I, engaged in the arduous and expensive task of founding a family. I see £10,000 within my grasp. The infamous monster positively dangles it before me. And then, through no fault of mine, it is snatched away.
Oh, never mind, George. You're doing splendidly in your profession, you know you are. And soon you'll have got a large practice together and have made £10,000 all of your own. Never mind.
But I do mind. I will mind. I absolutely decline to be jockeyed out of a large sum of money on a mere quibble of physiology. The idea is revolting to my legal intellect. Something must be done, and done quickly.
But I'm afraid it's a little
Rot.
late, George.
Rot. We must think of something instantly. Uncle Francis is certain to call tonight. I wish he lived in the next hemisphere instead of the next street. Now that would give us more time.
Really, George, I don't see how...
I should be sure to think of some scheme in a minute or two. Don't say anything to the dragon. Oh, well, sweet sister-in-law.
That darling is perfectly marvellous.
manners. Nurse brought her up to the light just now, and she blinked her eyes like anything. No, just fancy, George.
I know. Imagine the intelligence involved in such an apparently simple act. That's what you call taking notice, I suppose.
The little pet blinked her ridiculous little eyes several times.
About how many times?
I dare say you think you're very funny, George.
George, don't be silly. You've no notion of good taste.
She called my daughter's eyes ridiculous. I don't think that was in quite the best taste. Especially after an acquaintance of only 3 hours.
Dear Ada's awake now, and she did say that she would like to see you for a minute. I doubt whether in your present mood.
Ugh.
George! Be good to her, George. And mind you must only stay a minute or two. My dear, we'd better go with them. Can't be too careful. And I'll just scribble a line to Ernest.
My love, just a word to let you know that all is well. And Ada has had a little daughter. Rather weak and puny, I fear, but we cannot expect all children to be as strong as ours. Ada was very brave, but it is fortunate I came, as no one seemed to have any idea of how to manage. And May Foster, well, she's very kind-hearted, but so girlish. Shall return Thursday if I can be spared. Love to the chicks. Don't forget what I told you about going to bed early. With fondest love from your little Nell. P.S. No time for more.
Good evening,
Oh, good evening. I must introduce myself. I'm Mrs. Ernest Stanton, George Go's sister-in-law, who I feel sure are Mr. Francis Gower, George's uncle.
delighted to make your acquaintance, Mrs. Gower. You knew me for a Gower once, then?
Oh yes, you have the unmistakable Gower eyes. Big ducks. Jolly also.
Pardon me.
Not you, Mr. Gower, and how so? When I see eyes like yours, I always say that their owner has ensured the happiness of some innocent and trusting woman.
I beg pardon, I am not.
Why not marrying her?
That's it. I may certainly claim to be the benefactor of your sex, but I review in my mind the vast phalanx of charming women whom I have not married.
What do you want to know about dear Ada?
Yes, I thought I'd walk round before dinner to inquire. I was given to understand expectation, surmise, suspicion that...
Well, Mr. Gower, I have good news for you. Ada has had a daughter.
A daughter? How delightful. You said a daughter?
Yes, just after 3 this afternoon. Rather an unusual hour.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I'm quite at sea of the minute details of these matters. Mother and child doing well?
Oh, splendidly, splendidly. My sister has behaved admirably.
And the child, how did it behave?
Oh, well, Mr. Gower, as you say, you were rather at sea in these matters.
So difficult to well, one's inquiries in quite the right form. Now, at funerals, I assure you, I'm unimpeachable. I've often been told so. It's a question of practice, I suppose. It's the most singular thing to me, having regard to the alarming increase in our population. How many funerals there seem to be, and how few births. Perhaps that has not occurred to you, Mrs. Stanton.
Indeed not. Quite the opposite, in fact. Did you hear that bell ring?
Distinctly.
That is the 5th time I have rung it at least. These events have set a household from attic to basement.
So far. Could I be of any assistance to you?
Oh no, I only want to get this letter posted. If you'll excuse me for 1 second.
Of course. George is in high spirits.
Oh yes, but he conceals his feelings. Men do, you know. They think it's manly.
Just so. Well, Madam Leacher, you with the unscrutable ways. You've saved me £10,000 by this day's work. I reverence you. You're of the right sort. I've got through safe this time as it happens. But I really must cure myself of these fits of impulsive generosity. If it had been a boy, I suppose suppose George would have actually expected me to fork out that 10,000. I suppose, like a good-natured art, should have done so.
Isn't she really?
Yes, he is. Oh, good Francis.
Good evening, Uncle. How warm, isn't it, for the time of year?
You look rather warm, my dear May.
Well, what's the news, Uncle? Been to the city?
Nope, it's the first time I've been out today. I thought I would walk around and inquire before dinner.
To inquire? About what? Oh, you mean about Ada? Well, I'm glad to say it's all right, isn't it, May?
Yes, it's absolutely all right.
Ada is doing well, and I am the father of a fine boy.
A boy?
Yes. Oh, come, Uncle Ben. I know it must be a blow to you, but heavens, what's £10,000 to a man of your fortune? Why, it's less than a fiver to me, isn't it, May?
Yes, George. It is. I think it was rather noble of you, Uncle, to offer that £10,000, though the actual parting with a person of your economic mind cannot fail to be agonizing.
Yes, indeed. When I first heard that my child was a boy, I said, I wish for Uncle's sake that it had been a girl. Didn't I, May?
Yes, George, you did. You were sitting in that chair and I stood here and you said, I wish for Uncle's sake it had been a girl. Those were the very words you used.
And my sympathies went out instantly to you, Uncle. You will have to write me a cheque for £10,000 this very night. Personally, I should prefer to consider your offer cancelled. But I know you would never consent to such a course. You are a man of your word. Now, you said if my child was a boy, you would set the £10,000 fine. Well, it is a boy. And you will.
If you're sure it's a boy?
Sure it's a boy? What do you take me for?
I take you for a father. Suffering from some nervous disorder.
You mean I'm a little excited? Well, isn't that natural? You wait until you're a father, Uncle. Best to make you civil. But fancy asking me if I'm sure my own child is a boy.
Yes, fancy. Uncle, you should be more careful. To a man in George's delicate condition, so recently a father, anything in the nature of a shock might easily bring upon the most serious results.
You're right, my dear little girl. Partner of a fellow bachelor, not accustomed to the etiquette of paternity. I suppose you haven't yet decided on a name or names for this marvellous infant.
Well, dear Ada was only just saying now that at any rate he must be named Francis. Probably his name will be George Francis, but he will always be called Frankie after you.
My dear, I'm deeply touched by this mark of consideration.
Yes, well, Uncle, we aren't the sort of people to proclaim our private feelings from the housetops. But we think a great deal of you, Uncle. A great deal. We admire your notion of the duties and responsibilities of a great uncle. Perhaps you'd like to give me the cheque now, then you won't forget it. If we can once get the cheque, then we'll never stop it. And we can undeceive him afterwards and tell him it was all a joke and all that sort of thing.
You are a dear old thing.
Well, you better go back upstairs and be biting the ceiling like anything for the last 5 minutes. I think they was on something.
George, you've had too much whiskey. I've just come from dear Ada.
Helen, this is Uncle Francis. You haven't met before, I think.
Oh yes, we met a minute or two ago. And I was telling Mr. Gower what a fine little girl Ada has.
Mrs. Stanton, as the head of the Gar family, I feel it my duty to apologize beforehand. You are about to witness what is known as a say see. Yes, unless you prefer to retire.
Not in the least, I assure you.
Not merely a scene, but a family scene, which I believe to be the most highly developed form of scene known to science.
Pray don't mention it. I am quite accustomed. And that is short of bloodshed. I can stand anything. And you know, I do think bloodshed is horrid.
Preliminaries been settled. We may proceed. George? Why have you been lying to me?
Lying to you, Uncle.
Lying, Uncle?
I used the word.
Yes, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
Oh, what? Eyesight?
Well, it's just that I was carried away on one of those sudden impulses that one has. That's it, isn't it, May?
Yes, George, that must have been it. The sort of thing that comes over you, Uncle, before you know where you are.
It's over me.
Oh, no, not you, Uncle. You wouldn't understand it. You're too old. You've gone past the age for impulse. It's a disease that comes somewhere between measles and gout. It only affects the younger generation.
I'm too old, am I? I belong to the older generation, I suppose. Toothless gums, palsied limbs, doddering, and so on. If you look as well as me at 42, sir, you'll be lucky. Damn lucky!
As Ernest often says, the band is beginning to play. You can hear the strings in the distance.
42, Uncle.
42.
Sit down, sir.
Well, you accuse me of lying, but it occurs to me